Championship to the next round, that semi-final against Cork in a fortnight's time. Let's have a look at the statistics from that game, and I suppose the most important statistic is the scoreline that comes up first. 116 to 115, couldn't be any tighter. 17 frees to Limerick against Waterford's 11. 11 wides to Limerick against Waterford's 6, just the 165 in the game, and 5 yellow cards in the end, and of course that one sending off in the game as well. Now let's go back down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Tony Brown is being interviewed by Kieran Malooly.
What an incredible second half.
Yeah, the pressure was on us there, you know, for a long time, and it just goes to show the spirit is in this team and the spirit that we're after building over the last couple of years together. And when it was really needed, you know, that the fitness was there and we pulled it out. The pressure was really on this Waterford team today, and thankfully we were able to deal with the pressure.
I think particularly when Brian Green went off, difficult to organise, because Kieran Carey seemed to be going back, staying almost as a sweeper in the Limerick defence.
That's true. It took us a while to settle into it, especially when Brian went off. You know, we were at 6s and 7s for a while, but when we got the grips on it, we really dug deep, and the few weeks training that we did have really stood to us there, and we needed everything we had inside ourselves to pull out that victory.
Talk to me, Tony, about the spirit of this Waterford team as well, because in the past, man sent off, some of the heads might have went down, but every time he seemed to come back and get a point back.
Yeah, that's true. As I just said, you know, we went through an awful lot last year, even though we didn't win any major trophies. We went through a lot together last year, and you know, we wanted to prove that it just wasn't a flash in the pan kind of a thing, and we'd a lot to prove today, and I think we've proved that, and we're looking forward to the next round now.
And finally, your ankle's okay, you're ready to go?
I don't know if it's ready to go now, but it's okay, and I'm sure that Shay Fitz will be working on it again during the week, and we'll get it right for the Cork game.
Tony, congratulations, thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, Tomás Mulcahy. Tony Brown was a little bit quieter today than we normally would expect him, but nonetheless his presence on the field is so important to Waterford.
That's what we had said before the game. I mean, for Tony to run out through the tunnel before the game, to lift the Waterford supporters, lift the whole atmosphere in their own team as well, because he was going to be a big loss if he was off the team today. He didn't have the best of games by his standard, but he was still strong enough around the midfield area, cleared an awful lot of ball, went back into defence, and the good thing from Waterford's point of view is that, I mean, he's going to be much stronger the next day, be a lot more fitter, and I'm sure Cork are going to have to watch out for him.
OK, sir, let's talk through the second half then, and the various incidents that shaped the second half. 5 points in it at half-time, and Limerick immediately had a chance in the second half to cut that gap.
Yeah, it was easy knowing that Limerick would come out all guns blazing, and they wanted to score early on, and they nearly got a major one. Like, Limerick will never die that easy, and I know they'll be very disappointed this evening, but in the likes of Brendan Landers, Waterford came on a great goal. He made his name last year, and like, he proved himself again today. You're going to see him when he comes up on the slide here, he makes a great... Here's Limerick on the attack as such. They need to score. Good hand pass out, and a good long ball in by Shane. Now this ball is coming in from a long way out, and backs and forwards underneath it. Now the minute it breaks here, Gallagher gets a little flick to it, but it's a vital save by Landers, and a goal there would have set up Limerick, but like, he's done it all last year. Again, you got a flick to it, like, but it's one that you don't see until the last second, and it's very vital, and the 65 didn't go over either, so like, it kept Waterford at 5 points in front.
One of the players that you picked out, Tomás, before the game as a player to watch was Paul Flynn. Now, obviously, always such an important part of the Waterford attack. And today he delivered a goal and 8 points at the end. You couldn't say that he didn't do his part. No,
certainly. He had a great game overall. And even in the second half, when Limerick, with the extra man, brought an extra man back into defence, that sorted up a lot of gaps that were appearing there for the first maybe 10 or 15 minutes of that second half. He loves space. He loves the fast ball coming into him. But he has so much ball control. He has so much skill. He has so much vision. And he's so much confidence in his own play. Today, here we see a score in the second half, where the ball is breaking outside. Hand pass by Billy O'Sullivan out to Ken McGrath, and I think it comes across to him. And here you see as the ball breaks, he's very quick to react. Here you see there was no danger to Limerick. Paul looks up, he's in a spot of bother, sees he's going to be blacked down, but very quickly puts the ball over the defender's hand, and that's an excellent score. And that's a guy really playing on the top of his game. Plenty of confidence. Here we see again, going to throw up.
That's cheeky too, isn't it?
It's cheeky, yeah. Sells the defender a dummy. Now, I don't think you're going to get away with that too many times in the game, but today he certainly did it, and defenders will be watching for that the next day, and Paul Flynn gave an excellent display over the 70 minutes.
I think, Cyril Farrell, we must compliment the referee on the way he handled this game today. There was a danger and a feeling going into the match, because this was the first big test of the yellow and red card system in hurling, that it could have been mayhem. He was very sensible. In the sending off, he had no choice.
You'd have to say that Pádraig Corney, for marking out of 10, I'd give him 10 out of 10. He used common sense, and everyone knew exactly what he was doing. And the sending off that happened, now Brian Greene is a hard, tenacious player and a good one, but like there was no debate. Even the Waterford players, no one debated at all. He'd already been booked, you see, and this was the problem. Now Kieran Carey was coming right into the game, goes on a solo on here like one of the usual ones, and he's going away from players. Now you'll see Brian Greene, just as he released the ball, he comes in late, frontal charge, like, you know, and Pádraig Corney, the Waterford players, I feel, they even know that Brian is going to go off. Pádraig Corney is left with no option, he's already given a yellow card. He's going to get another yellow card here, and that means he's 2 yellows, a red, and he has to go. So there's no debate about it as such. But it really put it up to Waterford at that stage. But they showed their mettle, because every time that Limerick did get a score, Waterford went down the field again and picked off another great point. But like Brian will have no complaints. Jerry McCarthy probably have a chat to him in training Tuesday night and, you know, iron it out a bit with him. But these things happen.
Looking at the last few minutes, last 10 minutes of the game then, Tomas, like Limerick had every chance in this to cut into Waterford. Mike Houlihan's goal is so important. He had a chance before that, which skimmed past the post, and then he got his goal. And this really set us up for the finish. Yeah,
for Limerick to get back into the game, they needed a goal, you know. And when Michael Houlihan went to full forward in the second half, his presence alone, I mean, he's a very, very strong and tenacious player. And this is a high ball that, I mean, people might question whether he was in the square as the ball came in. It's a bit fortunate. Maybe Brendan Landers and Sean Conlan, the fullback, didn't get their calls right on that occasion. But looking at it again, maybe Brendan Landers should be quick enough to react. That was his ball. It's hard to see Michael Houlihan there. He's backing back towards the goal. Some referees and some umpires I've seen in the past will be given a square ball against this one. No credit to Michael Houlihan. He was there at the end of the high ball and certainly brought Limerick back into the game.
Yeah, but again, Michael there, Gerald McCarthy will not be happy with Sean Conlan there, because he allowed Houlihan to set back in. He was the wrong side of the ball. He should be inside him, and no way should be allowed inside the square, whether, you know what I mean, as a full-back. So I think that will be ironed out as well before the next game against Cork.
Yeah, one thing that Waterford will have to look at in this game, they dominated the match territorially and tactically for much of it, and yet they only win by a point, and lucky perhaps to win by a point.
Yeah, hurling-wise, they seem to be completely on top and seem to be playing well within themselves and doing great hurling. Gone back to last year's hurling, like flowing and, you know, begin to become household names. And yet you had the feeling that Limerick, even down 5 points at half-time, were always in the game. And if they got a goal, they were going to come into it. Now, OK, Brian Greene was off, and that meant they had 50 to 14. But for a while, it worked the other way. Waterford seemed to have the extra man for a while. That happens as well. But eventually, Limerick clawed their way back. And, like, you know, Waterford after playing so well, we'll be a little bit worried to think like that. They should have been ahead by more before that goal came even. So, like, they have a good bit of work to do as well.
10 minutes after the match, Tomas, this is not the time perhaps to start nailing nails into the coffin of some of these Limerick players, but you have to ask the question as well, for fellas like Gary Carbean, Kieran Carey even perhaps, Mike Houlihan, you know, where do they go from here? This is so disappointing today.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the yardstick that they would have used themselves before the game, that people have said that they're never going to win an All-Ireland medal, and this was their last chance to do so. It's a big disappointment for those players who have given so much service down through the last number of years. I think Gary Carey, this is his 13th year playing senior hurling with Limerick without actually missing a championship year, and that's going to be a huge disappointment. It's going to make it a lot harder for these guys to come back again next year, you know. And Eamon Cregan has started already. He had 3 newcomers into the championship team today. They did reasonably well, you know. He's probably going to have to look for more talent, because I would think after today there will probably be a number of these players called today.
All right, gentlemen, let's just wrap up the analysis for the moment, because right now it's time for us to name our man of the match from this one.
Well, there's one man in the match today, and that's Paul Flynn. Here you're going to see him sticking a great ball into the back of the net. He wound up scoring 1-8, 4 or 5 points from play, like, and he led by example today. So Paul Flynn is man of the match.
Yeah, well, an excellent performance from the full forward, Tomas McCahey. Yeah, Cork will be taking a close look at him, obviously.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I think he deserved his man of the match award today. Their forward line as a unit performed very, very well. If there was a worrying thing about Waterford, that he's their main scorer, and he's their main scorer every day that we seem to go out and play, they seem to go out and play, and that would be a worrying part of Gerald McCarthy's tonight. He's 2 corner forwards that we kind of spoke about at half-time that were playing reasonably well, Dave Bennett and Michael White, and the 2 of them ended up being substituted in the second half, you know, so he need more strength and depth from that.
He's always happy to drop off, take the ball into feet. Robbie Winters quick